Right, let's review something.
Father Stu, biographical drama, written and directed by Rosalind Ross, based on the true life story of Father Stuart Long. Are you aware of the true life story of Father Stuart Long?
I don't believe so.
No, me neither. So the title role, he's only a father at the end. The title role is played by Mark Wahlberg. I know you're not allowed to refer to him as that name, but Mark Wahlberg.
The Reverend Mark Wahlberg?
Yes, but only later on. Okay. When we first meet him, he's a boxer, punching his way through several kind of brutal bouts, very kind of, bouncy and charismatic, and then his body tells him that he can't be doing this anymore. He's in search of a new career. He goes to Hollywood, believing that he's got so much charisma and so many stories inside him that he will automatically become an actor, become a star. He ends up working in a meat counter in a supermarket. That's the other thing about, I'm an actor. Really? Which restaurant? And whilst serving on the meat counter, his eyes fall upon the girl of his dreams, who happens to be a devout Catholic. So he then follows her to a church where he's told, just stay away. You are not the kind of person that she's going to be interested in. And then falls into training as a priest initially, I think, in order to impress her. Meanwhile, his mom, played by Jackie Weaver, is sceptical about the whole thing. His dad, played by Mel Gibson, is, guess what?
Warmly supportive.
Drunk and cantankerous.
No.
What are you, casing the joint?
I come to see you ain't killed yourself. Left mama high and dry.
You think you're the only one that can keep a vow? Don't get all high and mighty with me, son. I'm still your father. Don't you forget that.
Yeah, it's lucky you ain't bet one dime on me, huh? I'm praying for you, Bill.
Don't you dare! You're violating my rights as a man, as an American.
Yeah, so Mel Gibson doing the thing that Mel Gibson does. Here's the thing. This is Mark Wahlberg's project. He put his own money into it. Apparently, at some point, he was in conversation with David O. Russell about doing it, which would have made a very, very different movie. As it is, this is fairly kind of bland Hollywood story about, it's made with the cooperation of Father Stuart's friends and family, the blessing largely of the church. And it's one of those stories about, a punchy outsider who goes through a life trauma and comes out the other side as a changed and inspirational character. I mean, that is, an inspirational story, but there are ways of telling it that might be inventive and exciting. And there are ways of telling it that feel like it's by numbers. I was talking to Father Peter Malone, who is a Catholic film critic and film writer who I admire very much, just recently, about the subject of faith-based movies. And he was saying that the problem with a lot of faith-based movies is that they're preaching to the choir. They're preaching to the converted, and they tend to put the dramatic stuff kind of secondary to the message, which is clear, front and center. And I think that is actually one of the problems with this. Although this looks like it might be a different thing, like it's a kind of scrappy story about a boxer whose, his life is earthy and he's a very, very different kind of beast that you would normally imagine going into clerical orders. It does end up feeling like and I mean this in all the problematic senses, a faith-based film. Right. It's a film that for all its kind of appearance of being something different, of being a bit more streetwise, a bit more gritty, it isn't. I mean, I did struggle with Wahlberg's performance. I mean, I'm a fan of Mark Wahlberg. I think Mark Wahlberg's performance in Boogie Nights is great. It's a shame that he's apologised for being in Boogie Nights because I still think it's one of his best roles. I have, often enjoyed him on screen. This feels like it's his project. It's the thing he wants to do, and not least because it gives him a chance to do some, proper dramatic grandstanding as the things that life throws at the central character are dealt with an increasing sort of stoicism. It plays fast and loose with some of the facts. Apparently there's been some criticism about the way in which Gibson plays the father figure. But the story is remarkable. It's a shame that the movie isn't more remarkable. This movie just felt very, very much kind of TV movie.
Does the casting of Mel Gibson, which obviously is box office still, I suppose, but does that mean you kind of already think this is going to be a Catholic film because Mel's in it?
Well, Mel's made films which aren't Catholic films, but his presence in the movie is significant. Because the interesting thing about Mel, people talk all the time about cancel culture. You go, yeah, if cancel culture exists, how come Mel Gibson's still working? there is, I mean, I still think Mel Gibson's best film is Apocalypto, which I think is what, actually a really sinewy and slightly insane and unhinged film, which obviously came, Passion of the Christ is the film that was the great project that everyone said wouldn't work. Everyone, was kind of comparing it to, Heaven's Gate and a folly. And then, of course, it became one of, if not the biggest selling non-English language movies of all time. But I think, Gibson's presence in any movie now is always a kind of strange contradiction. But as I said, he does definitely prove cancel. People always say, anti-woke, anti-cancel. Yeah, if cancel culture or woke culture existed, Mel Gibson wouldn't be working.
Can I just ask a question about the plot then? Mm-hmm. Because if Marky Mark really fancied the girl and the girl of his dreams, mm-hmm. and then you would think, well, I would become a Catholic then, rather than become a priest, because then you have to be celibate.
Yes, exactly.
What's the point?
No, well,
and then you can't be with the girl of your dreams.
The film goes through, what happens is, on his journey of discovery,
he discovers he's a celibate.
He actually... What I love is your kind of reductio ad absurdum approach to this. Yeah, it's a story about somebody who is brought to the church for reasons other than spiritualism,
lust,
who then finds
meaning
in that kind of, they discovered meaning in their lives and in the lives of those they touched.
They said,
Mark Wahlberg is Father Stu.
He's not the man in Entourage.
From the boxing ring to the confessional booth.
Just say no to lust. Later in the programme, we'll be saying no to drugs, but there'll be more of that with Gaspar Noé.